There we go. I think we got it now.
Nice.
What's up, y'all? It's Dr. Paul, Liberty Hill Comics. You are joining the Comic Book Conservation Live Show. This is episode 10. I have my amazing co-host with me, as always. And we want to start off the show by saying Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Happy Mother's Day, moms.
Mother's Day indeed.
What'd you guys think of that intro?
That was good. I like the bass sound.
The bass is my daughter.
Really? Your daughter's rocking the bass. Wow.
Yeah. She and her friend put that together for us. And they wanted me to let everybody know it's not finished yet.
So we don't have to pay.
It's a rough draft. It's gonna be fuller and it's gonna be smoother and cleaner.
All right, cool. No, that was awesome.
I thought it was pretty awesome, right? So we have our own theme music now.
Wow.
I just put it to the thumbnail for today, but we'll work out a little trailer, I guess, and
Okay.
it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Wow, look at all the people we have already.
Cool.
Starman's in the house.
Hugo
Danner,
Danner,
my buddy
Peter.
Mike.
Hey, Peter.
Ben Stewart's
Shelby's here.
Peter,
Hey, Shelby. Everybody's here.
Shelby, Don. All right. Well, we've got a great show.
We do.
And I'm super excited. But before we get into it, Phil, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Oh, shucks. Hi, everybody.
Phil from Phantom Restoration is, as always, one of my super talented co-hosts. And say hi to everybody, Larry.
Hey, everybody. How you doing today? Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Don't you forget Mama.
That's Captain Larry of Flying L Comics.
I'm actually home for a change.
I know. That's
I
wild.
know. I'm happy I get to work on comic books.
Check out his YouTube channel as well. If you're here, you're going to love his content. And both my co-hosts on Instagram as well. Probably the easiest way to get a hold of them. Those links are in the description, so check them out.
And we answer every question.
We do that. So I wanted to start off saying Happy Mother's Day, as we already did, but I actually wanted to just give a special shout out to my mom, who never threw away a single comic book.
Ooh, neither did mine.
And who always tried to make sure I had 60 cents to go down and pick up the latest copy of New Teen Titans if she could manage it. And so she's a great mom, still is. And just want to say thanks for everything. I think the moms are the unsung heroes. Being a dad, it's wild. Like if we do one little thing for the kids, everybody's like, oh, Dad of the Year. Oh, stuff that moms are doing every day, week in, week out, month in, month out. So shout out to all the effort that they're doing, putting into and supporting us so we can do crazy stuff like our hobbies. So,
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
I know you wanted to say a word as well, Captain Larry.
Nope. Just wanted to say Happy Mother's Day to everybody. But it's funny what you said, though, because you said 60-cent comics. I was actually buying 20-cent comics. So not to date myself. Yeah. But my mom actually read comic books. So
That's what you told us before.
yeah,
You said
yeah,
both
it was
your
cool.
parents were comic book readers.
My dad would peruse a couple of things, but my mom actually, she was more into the Elf Quest and Dragonlance and all the fantasy type stuff. But she would read the X-Men and things like that. But we were able to collect everything. So,
awesome.
and no, she never threw it out. My ex-wife attempted to throw some stuff out, but she's also an ex-wife now. So,
Okay. With that segue, Phil.
Yeah, to my mom who is likely listening to this right now with my dad. I joke, to people sometimes like in a philosophical sense. None of us asked to be here, but thanks, Mom, because hey, the ultimate sacrifice, carrying it.
Awesome. So happy Mother's Day, sincerely from us to everyone out there.
Love you, Mom.
Thank you also to everyone viewing us live, but also, man, everybody in this Facebook group.
Yeah.
This Facebook group is taken off, and it's such a positive community. It's so collaborative. We're
Is that number
adding,
correct? 109?
No, this is a screen grab I took.
Yeah,
from
I
a few
thought it
months
was
back.
more.
I think we added 100 in the last 2 weeks. So
Holy
it's
crap.
growing quickly.
Welcome, everybody.
And yeah, thank you all for being here. On a similar note, the channel has over 3,000 subscribers now. Thank you sincerely. And we're going to actually segue into what the channel is about, what this Facebook group is about. And it's about the comic book community, our hobby, our sort of subgenre of the hobby, and conservation, restoration, removal, all that sort of stuff. And what it's really about, though, is bringing people together over a shared interest and hanging out with my two pals on Sunday evening here, and all of the other folks that I've met through the Facebook group, through the channel. I have a lot of gratitude today. I sincerely appreciate all of you. And I actually want to use that as a segue and bring up specifically one of the friends I met through the channel and talk about the loss of somebody in the comic book community who was a pillar, who was an amazing person. And that's John Romita, Sr., of course, who's just passed away 1 year ago this week. And obviously his son is still in the industry. His son touches a lot of lives in a very positive way. And I'm sure that's because that apple didn't fall far from the tree. And I made a connection. I never met John Romita myself personally, but I made a connection through this channel to my now good friend, Mike. Mike knew John Romita personally.
Oh, wow.
And had a number of things signed by John over the years. And because we've been doing trades and I've been helping him out with some stuff, he sent me some of these books, and they're just absolute treasures. And I wanted to share them for a couple of reasons. One, because it's the 1 year anniversary of John Romita's passing away. And two, to show how this community brings us together, and how we can, through comic books, we can meet folks who we might not have met otherwise, who now are pillars in our life. So I have 3 comic books I'm going to share, and this is the first one. I'm just gonna go here, guys, so I can show this off.
No, that's great.
Check that out.
Wow.
ASM 100, signed by John Romita in a really nice,
Lovely silver.
What a cool book.
the silver Sharpie, right?
Yeah.
That's really
It just is.
very
Obviously, he was a hell of an artist. He knew what he was doing with this signature, and it's just beautiful. This book came to me needing a little bit of TLC. I haven't done it yet, but one of the awesome things is with CGC purchasing JSA, I'm pretty sure this bad boy is going to end up in a slab with a nice gold banner on the top. And I'm super psyched about that. I'm not in any hurry to get it slabbed because I like holding a book that John Romita held.
Yeah, that is cool.
But eventually, I'm sure it will end up there. And the next one is even cooler somehow.
Ooh.
The next issue in the series is ASM 101.
Quite literally the next issue, yeah.
Yeah, first Morbius. And check out how John signed this one.
Yeah, right there. That's the perfect place to put it.
That amazing.
Yeah, perfect place.
Just stunning. And obviously a big key. This one also probably could benefit from just a really light, clean and press, but doesn't need any major work. It's a beautiful book. And thanks again, Mike.
Nice.
And then lastly, obviously this is, these are all right in order. Nice. ASM 102 with a beautiful big John Romita signature. So you really have this whole storyline. And like I said, I couldn't be happier. I'm full of gratitude. And again, these books would not be in my possession were it not for this channel and this community. And Mike was happy to trade them to me. He got things he was super happy with. And was one of the great things is, we all have different interests in the hobby, and sometimes our interests wax and wane, and we can have trades that are win-win situations. And so,
well, those books are just priceless.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Isn't that incredible?
Oh yeah. It's great.
I'm thrilled.
Sharp looking copies too.
Wow. So thank you, Mike. I appreciate you.
That was great.
I appreciate our conversations early in the morning before anybody else is out of bed. And I'm so busy, guys. Like if I have a friend who's up at 5 a.m. like I am, that's when I'm talking to them.
I know, because I get
the only time I have to talk to them.
Yeah, I get texts from you and you say, what is he doing up this early? And then I get a text from you late at night. I'm just like, does he sleep?
Not much, but that's okay. I love my life and I'm super productive, and it makes me happy.
We're dead.
Yeah. So I'll preview our segments really quickly. We're going to open with another fair market value segment, and it's actually I don't throw the word grail around very, it's not something I just throw around. This is an actual grail book, and I found a conserved copy that sold in the last year. So I'm super excited to share that with everybody. And I think the conclusion of that one is actually going to surprise some people too, in terms of what the book went for compared to universal fair market value. And then we're going to close with an incredible conservation project that Larry did. And he's going to walk us through the book, how he acquired it. We're going to talk about the importance of it. It's a really cool pre-code horror book. We previewed it, or we teased it last week.
Yeah.
And we're gonna take you all the way through that and show you final results back from CGC. So that's super exciting. We're gonna even do a financial analysis, how much equity was created by Larry's sweat, blood, and tears. So looking forward to that. But let's kick off. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it. Let's kick off with this here. What are conserved comic books worth? So our continuing series on how do you put a price tag on these books that don't trade hands very often? There aren't that many in the marketplace. And what are they really worth? Hard to say. So every week we're bringing you a little snapshot. So over time we can build some kind of a consensus of what these books are worth. It's important to know if you're going to work on your books, whether or not you're going to increase the value, decrease the value. This are 2 copies of Tales of Suspense number 39. Everybody should know this book, obviously.
Everybody should own a copy of this, by the way.
Oh, if only we all could, right? There's actually not enough in the census for all to go around.
I would love to have one of these.
Yeah. Well, I own most of the Marvel Silver Age, but there are a few grails I do not yet own, and this is one of them. It is something. It's something I would like to rectify. What'd you say?
I've had 4 copies, and it was my first big book. You told us my first
that's incredible.
Yeah, I know who has my original copy. It's sitting in a 5.0 CGC slab.
Wow, perfect.
It's a very, very nice copy.
That's
I nice copies too.
When I was trolling comic shops, 25 years ago, I found one in Anchorage, Alaska. The guy wanted $1,000 for it, and I thought he was out of his mind. Had I only known.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a polarizing cover too. I know some people who actually, vehemently hate it. They're like, "Oh,
really?" And I think this is a strong cover for the Silver Age.
Yeah, and the main character right there, right in the.
Yeah, I think the juxtaposition of the panels with the main figure. This is a strong cover for me. I know Hugo Danner's my friend Mike. That's who I got the ASMs from. They're signed by John Romita. He says, "Happy you enjoy them so much. I just wish they had much higher grade. They're nice copies." But he's very discerning as a collector. My first letter from John, so he corresponded with John Romita while he was in boot camp, and he says his DIs went ape. They read Captain America and ASM while in Nam. They thought he was cool for having a pen pal named John Romita. I know.
Well, he is cool.
He is cool. That's true. I know actually Mike owned a copy of Tales of Suspense 39 as well back in the day.
Can I just say one fun fact too about the book before you dive into the prices? So for those that aren't aware too, people that do know the book, there's kind of a trifecta of things that people look for in this book. And I personally, I would add a fourth thing to that list. But the trifecta, as most people look, is.
Why don't we actually put a pin in that? Why don't we talk about it when we have them up? Because these two books differ in those things.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. Sorry. I said I know Mike owned a copy of this book. He bought a copy at Jellies. So Jellies is this giant warehouse of like used stuff, books, albums, all comics, all magazines, all kind of crazy stuff in Hawaii. And he bought a copy of Tales of Suspense 39 in September of '86 for $50.
Oh, God, that's painful.
Isn't that beautiful?
That is awesome. Wonderful.
That's awesome.
We got stories from everybody. Peter's got a poor copy of number 39, not CGC. Bought it about 20 years ago for $100. Well done, Peter.
Wow. Well done.
I think both of these copies. So the conserved book on the right sold in the last year. The one on the left is the most recent comp, and I think they both present super well for 3.5s.
Oh yeah.
But we're gonna get into everything on them, and I'll cue you for that pin that I put in you, Phil, for the stuff we look for on this particular book. So relatively low census for this book, 2,100. To put it in perspective with other Silver Age books, this is early Marvel Age, and that makes it not as rare as the super early Silver Age DC stuff, but more rare than any of the later and even some of the earlier Marvel stuff. So 2,000 copies, 2,100 copies, Universal is not a lot, as I said, for those of us in the community to share. And the median grade here is a 4.5. They tend to be fairly low grade. Lot of low grade copies of this book. Look how high the census is at 0.5. A lot of 0.5s of this book out there. March of 1963, obviously pre-Avengers. Really before, this was Stan and Jack mostly retooling all of their horror books for superheroes because Justice League had turned out to be a big hit in Brave and the Bold, and so they were retooling all of their horror books to be superhero books. There is, and here's a good segue for you to talk about the things that are important to this book. There is a single 9.8 in the census.
Beautiful.
So why don't you talk about this book here for the folks that aren't familiar, Phil?
That's awesome. When I used to work at Comic Connect, I held one of the 9.6s in my hand, and it was truly looking at it, and you're like, this looks fake. Like it's not supposed to look that perfect. This is not supposed to be this nice.
Wild.
So the three things, if you're looking at the book, the first thing is the double quotations in the word Iron Man in the title. So if you look on the left, that quotation is always going to be there, but on the right, due to the production cut, sometimes you don't get that quotation.
Yeah.
It goes right up to the exclamation mark. You get, one of the quotation marks, not both of them. Mm-hmm. So it's very desirable. Some people really like double quotations.
If you search auctions, you'll often see double quotations on books that have it because the sellers are pointing out that that's a feature of that copy.
Yeah, it's not inherent in every sale, but in my experience tracking this book, you will generally see books that have at least the double quotes go for just a little bit. It's more desirable.
Indeed.
So the second thing is the blue under the table. So if you're looking in the bottom right, If you're following the panels down, you'll see the first 2 panels have blue just under the table there, but the bottom one in this copy doesn't. Due to the production cut. So sometimes due to the cut, you'll get the blue, sometimes you don't. So having the blue is technically more square of a cut and a better, more desirable cut. And then the third and final thing would be the top left, where you have the 12-cent circle. Having that, like it is on this copy, nice and perfectly square up to the left is very desirable. Sometimes it's just slightly wrapped around. So yeah, so it's, and the fourth thing I would add would be the reds, because in my opinion, really I would put that even maybe above the double quote sometimes. If I see a copy of this with faded reds, but structurally, like, the reds are everything. In this book, sometimes it's nice, but the reds are dull, and I like to see sharp reds like this. It's
what? I'll ask the magic question. What is the value of this book?
What could it possibly be? It just sold for a month ago, $840,000. Again, it's the only 9.8. It's the singular 9.8 in the census. After tax, so this includes buyer's premium, but not tax. After tax, that's over $900,000.
Wow!
So
I wish I had that. That's a house. That's a couple of houses.
Depends on your zip code, but it sure is. I just wanted to show everybody that before we jump into our 2 books here. It's fun, and it just sold in the last month, so it's kind of cool.
I mean, wow.
So we're focused today on Universal 3.5. Here's the value. This is interesting. This is the last 12 months, so really a bunch of interesting stuff to digest here. So this is about the third quartile, well, a little bit higher than first quartile, in the second quartile in terms of the population census. Obviously the median grade being 4.5. There are a wide range of prices here, and I'll explain that in a moment. But look at the highest price ever paid for this book in a 3.5. In a 3.5, this book sold in the pandemic for over $15,000.
Pandemic prices are crazy, though.
That's $5,000 per point, boys and girls. I mean, this is a big book, and it's a grail. It's an important book. I think the MCU obviously really got rolling with Iron Man and with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I think so too. There's no question. He truly is Iron Man.
Portrayal of Iron Man. And I think that's what elevated this book to this status for many folk. I mean, there were many of us that already, thought very highly of it. For the record, it's a very good story. It's one of the better origins of the Marvel universe and of the Marvel age. I'm a fan of this book. Look at the range, though, of the trailing 12 months. A low of 4670, that's less than $5,000. A high of $9,000. So let me explain that range. The 4670 book was slightly brittle pages. The $9,000 was white pages. Both 3.5s. So a lot of variability here. Page quality matters, people, and timing matters. If you bought this at the top of the census, you're underwater. You're probably going to be underwater for a while to come. So I hope you bought what you love. That said, let's look at the book that I found that is the best comparison to our conserved copy. So this sold in the last year, and it's a 3.5 with off-white pages. Our conserved copy also has off-white pages. It presents very similarly, and here are the grader's notes. So obviously in a 3.5, especially one that looks so nice, there's got to be some problems somewhere, right? This one says staple detached bottom of back cover, staple detached top of cover, creasing to cover, moderate staining to cover.
Didn't talk about the inside at all.
No, it's a very nice copy, right?
Yeah. Well, now I'm looking at it from what Phil was just saying. The things you look for, the quotes and the cut.
Quotes
at
are
the
partially
bottom.
missing. The blue is partially missing.
The color's
off the bottom.
a tad off.
Color looks pretty good though, especially for a 3.5.
Yeah, the blues look great. Yeah.
The
I mean, this is
too. The centering is one of those things. You'll see copies of this. You'll see a white streak on the bottom where it's crooked too, from just outside the border of where the art actually ended. It was that. I mean, this was back in 1963. This was not. This was.
This is a very solid copy. This is a copy I'd be happy to own. It presents more like a 5. I mean, it's really a nice book here, and this sold just in this couple months ago for $6,600. So this is right in the middle of that range of the trailing 12-month sales. And again, it's I think with the paper quality. Notes? Sure.
Yeah, because I was looking at this, I like cracking slabs, but
there's a lot of potential here, isn't there?
Yeah, sure is.
This is a conserved 5.0, I think.
Phil's shaking his head.
I don't know. I strictly from like keeping it universal, I would say definitely leave it alone because it looks like the cover is being held on by one side of one staple. So that's
by gravity. I'm looking at this because moderate staining to cover. That's a favorite to remove. Creasing. Can't really do much with that, but
but it's also not super obvious. I mean,
it's not
front and back.
It doesn't
have massive color breaking.
Well, there's a big water spot right there at the top. You can see that the moisture damage. You can't see the creases at all. I'm guessing in the spine, but we could easily reattach that cover. And get a much higher conserved grade.
No, I think this has got a lot of potential to be a conserved book.
Oh yeah, I would.
Prices are going for them.
As it is, 6,600 is I think right on the money. So I'm calling this fair market value for this book, even though Go Collect's algorithm was overweighting that $9,000 I think paid for the White Pages copy.
Yeah.
So
I
this
flagged
is what I'm using for fair market value.
I flagged some stuff with Go Collect, and one in particular. They were very quick to fix it too. There's a big outlier. And I say, hey, this doesn't look right, and they looked at it. So you're right, and they made a huge price correction on stuff.
It's
so
definitely
they're pretty
worth
quick.
Yeah, reaching out to them.
Yeah.
So here's our conserved book again. Beautiful copy. Let's go through your factors on this book, Phil. It's almost the same.
Yeah. It's slightly crooked compared to the other one.
Yeah, it's a bit on the crooked side, but
cut just a bit less than the last
one.
The
12 cent,
but it probably has a slightly brighter reds too.
Yeah. You will often see copies that have that bottom text box starting to get cut off.
Yep.
Like see here, if not cut off even more. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those reds. Hey.
Yeah, a copy I'd love to own. I mean, really nice copy. Again, both of these present so much better than a 3.5. I mean, I've seen rags grade 3.5. Honestly, I've seen books graded a 5.5 that don't look as good as either of these.
I'm curious how this is only a 3.5, honestly.
Well, I brought up the grader's notes for you.
Okay.
There's a lot to talk about here.
Clean.
So it's conserved because cover cleaned.
Yep.
That one is obvious to me.
It has a detached centerfold, detached cover, so that means completely detached. Cover was cleaned, creasing to cover, heavy staple rust, light staining to cover, wear all edges of cover. I think
I know
you can see the staple rust here.
Yeah, I can see that.
On the back of the cover, the lower staple.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me. I mean, this was obviously a case of someone trying to remove staining from the cover and hoping it would stay blue label, and it didn't, and it came back conserved because there isn't any additional work done.
100%.
I have some thoughts on this too. I'm looking at the edge of the cover. on the right side, and then on the back side, you can see the inner wraps sticking out. So it makes me wonder if this was wet cleaned and there might have been some shrinkage.
Could have been.
My first thought is I've seen this before where a book has staining through the whole book, and someone goes and cleans the cover to remove the staining, but for some reason they forget, or for whatever reason, that the grader is going to look at the book and not see the stain through the whole interior, but not on the cover, and think that that's natural, and then they hit it with a cover cleaned because there's a tell that the cover's been cleaned. That's exactly what it looks like.
I think, and Phil, that's very common because we know that, the Captain Mike Facebook group for cleaning and pressing, and they put out a book a few years ago on wet cleaning, essentially, and whitening. They don't call it wet cleaning, but wet pressing, what they call the hop method. There's many people doing that. And when you practice that, you don't disassemble the book, which means you're wetting the cover only. And of course, you can't clean the rest of the book if you don't disassemble it. So I think it's very common. I think you guys nailed it. This is 100% somebody who was thinking they were going to get a blue label, or at least hoping they were going to get a universal label.
Too.
Yeah.
And because if you were conserving this book on purpose, you left a whole bunch of meat on the bone here, right?
I don't disagree with the grade either. I think that's a 3.5.
You're right. In addition to that, too, there's the additional element of the size of the cover could have changed and shrunk. Or
I suspect that it did.
Tell aside from the stain. So that could be a giveaway.
So all that to say, this book also has upside potential because you reattach the cover, you clean the rest of the book, you clean up your staples, get rid of the stain, and this is also probably a conserved 5.
Yeah, it's going to be conserved no matter what.
There isn't any limiting creases really. So if you're just doing structural work on it, like you just said, and fixing up the staple areas, I don't see why a 5 minimum is reasonable. That seems
So both these books, I think, have lots of potential. Really nice books. This one sold about 9 months ago, I guess now. But there aren't that many conserved books in the census. So within the last year,
fantastic price.
For 5,760. So there it is.
Wow.
What do y'all think of
books
that?
are really, really coming up in comparison, because nobody knew how to address a conserved book. It wasn't a purple label. We knew it was better than a purple label, but we didn't know where to
this is also the market too, just as the price kind of was starting to dip again too. So there's the depression in lower grades, but
this book is also a blue chip grail. I mean, there's not that many out there. People would get knife fights over it. I would,
No, even if it were to go today, I think that conserved book would probably go for very close to what it went for 9 months ago.
But I agree with Phil. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. I would love to get my hands on that particular book and crack that thing
I'm picturing
out.
Larry now, in the video, tied to somebody with a knife, and in the middle, I'm just holding a Tales of Suspense 39. Whoever survives,
throw the knife on the ground wins.
So I thought this was fascinating. 2 great books, 2 books with lots of potential.
Amazing.
We really don't know what happened with this cover. Cover cleaned can mean many things. The submitter, I think it's obvious, thought that it wasn't going to be flagged as cover cleaned.
I think it was
so they were taken by surprise here. There's no way to prove the cover is cleaned. So CGC is using circumstantial evidence.
There may be some obvious tells. Hop cleaning, if you're not taking the book apart, all you have to do is look right in that spine with the light, and there you will see a discoloration.
You see the tie lines,
Oftentimes you're never removing the stain 100%, maybe even 90, and you're like, that's pretty close. But once you know to look for it and you see the stain on the interior, they'll say, oh, there's the 10% remnant of the stain on the cover. So, and it was clean.
Yep. And this conserved copy bringing nearly 90% of universal fair market value, I think is a phenomenal sale. Even though there's still some meat on the bone there, I think it was well sold as well as well bought in a way, because I think the seller of that book did very well.
Yeah.
Right. For what they have.
no question.
Yeah.
So
I would love to
that's
have that.
what I have for the fair market value for the week. What y'all guys think of that?
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I did. I
fun,
love
right?
that book. I'm just slobbering at the thought of trying to crack either one of those open.
Yeah. Well, like I said,
as much as I love it, I also am very appreciative of that book, because that first copy that I had, I ended up selling and it helped pay some rent. You know, it did. I got a 5-time return, even though it still was in today's price. You know, I should have held on to it.
You're not supposed to sell your comics to pay the rent. Shame.
Well, timing though
Sometimes
too.
you need
The other
to.
3 copies I had, I bought and sold when the market was high, and
Yeah.
I sold 2 of them just before the market dropped. So just in terms of my own timing, usually I hit the market, but thankfully my addiction to comic art kind of saved the day there. I ended up selling some.
I was looking at that. I love your comic art in the back wall. That looks great.
We'll do a show on art sometime in the future. But tell Kevin Smith you're not supposed to sell comics to fund your life's ambitions.
No kidding.
You said to buy when we have more. Feed these.
Nicholas Cage.
All right. So let's get into our next segment here. Super excited about this.
Yeah, this is a really cool project.
Very cool. So Larry hasn't seen how I put all the deck together. He sent me images here, so I'll sort of walk you through. I'll just MC a little bit and obviously interrupt me at any point.
Okay, I'll preface this. This was a book that I worked on off camera. This is because I have, I'll do a video on one book, but I got 10 that I'm working on at the same time. This is one that I didn't do a lot of images on. So the images you're going to see are actually from the eBay seller. Yeah. I just cropped them and sent them to you. So
I added a few more from that listing as well, Larry.
Oh, good. Okay.
Just to help us talk through some of what you had to do.
Yeah.
Here.
So I'm all very attracted to anything with a skeleton on it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's Golden Age with a skeleton is hot. And here we have a skeleton and a demon playing cards for the soul of this woman. And I'm just
Seems fun.
But the colors to me popped. I like the yellows.
Oh, yeah.
I like the red. It really popped to me. And it was really in poor shape when I bought it. The seller,
we're going to get into that. I have the material for you.
All right.
I was thinking these guys are playing Magic the Gathering for Auntie, and Auntie is this gal's soul.
Nerd.
Yeah.
For my MTG folks out there.
Yeah.
So Dark Mysteries #7, Master Publications is not a company that I know a lot about. I'll be frank. July of 1952. There was a big proliferation around this time because this kind of material was selling well. And so a lot of people jumped into putting this material out. So there are a lot of, and also there was a lot more diversity in terms of American comic book companies in the 40s and 50s than there is today.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Obviously, super rare, pre-code horror. 24 copies in census. That's it.
Yeah, that's another reason I looked at it. I try to find really low census. As we talked about last week, pre-code horror is a fantastic investment because it's never going to really lose its value. If you have a comic book in a down market, you could have runs on modern books that have the movie characters, Copper Age, Bronze Age. They'll go up, they go down, they fluctuate so bad.
Mhm.
But if you want to invest and hold your money and make money over time, Golden Age, Silver Age key books are where it's at. And
It's,
this is a very rare book because, low population count on it.
yeah. They're also a lot more fun to hunt, right?
They are.
If you want a Hulk 181, all you need is a credit card. There's dozens
Yes,
of them for
that's
sale right
yeah.
now on eBay at any given and other places at any given moment. But if you want a full run of dark mysteries, good luck.
Good
Yeah,
luck.
Have fun
Even when
over
you're
the next
just like that.
decade hunting them down, right?
Or longer.
That is what's fun to me,
Yeah.
at least.
It is remarkable too, as someone who's been collecting these specific books for, I'm young, but for as long as I have, I've noticed, admittedly, like part of the reason you see that low number is because you'll see more copies of this raw, and part of it is just the valuations of the book in a certain point. They haven't been submitted just because they haven't been worth it to be submitted. However, in the last couple of years, seriously, the values of some of these books have crept up
We're going to talk
so
about
much
that.
you can
Yeah.
see even in the past 5 years, the census numbers on some of these books has increased
yeah.
substantially. It really has.
100%.
But,
Yeah.
but you still see low numbers like this, and that's the point. Like even though that increases, they're not increasing to 1,000. It's still like 28 copies, 35.
So this is the description from the seller. So we're going to go a little bit into Larry's decision process here.
Yep.
And this is the cover image from the seller. And just walk us through what you were thinking about this, what you were thinking in terms of, maybe what you should pay for it. This was an auction with a really low starting bid. So you had to kind of do your homework and decide what your bid was going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually was looking at this book and I knew I wanted it. And I knew what my pain threshold was probably about $200 because it needed a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I bid on it and it was like $50 for like right to the last minute. Then a sniper jumped in.
Right. It wasn't me, by the way.
I know. But I did get hit with the sniper, but I still got it. So now looking at the decision is big ones, cream pages. Okay. That sounds great. Then you go through the the description here. It says it's a 2.0. That was that was not a 2.0. It was a little bit less. So tough book to find. Absolutely true. Complete. Weak spine. Yes, and has an unfortunate half the book length spine split. And the bottom staple is loose and holding it on. Well, by the time it got to me, it had a 3/4 inch spine split and the cover was fully detached. So I knew I could fix these issues. And I looked at it and I said, yeah, I'm going to go for that. Now, this is the cover as it originally came.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I paid for it right there.
Your winning bid.
That was my winning bid. So I was happy. It showed up and I tackled it. One thing, if you look at that top left corner of the cover, that's a pencil mark, but I wasn't sure. Now, I want to give people a little bit of education. You see marks like that, just don't jump on it and erase it right away. Because a lot of pedigree books have marks on them. And this could just be somebody's initial signature or something like that. Now, the thing to do is
even if it's not a pedigree, that's part of the provenance of the book. I mean, unless it's a kid scrawling,
Well, I looked at it up close, and this was just a pencil scribble. That's all it was. There was no structure to it whatsoever. Now, I do recommend going through the pedigrees and look at the listed pedigrees and see what they are, what those things are. So when you're at that garage sale or you see something on eBay, you go, oh, I know what that is, and go for that.
There aren't that many of them.
No, there's really not that many.
Memorize them. Yeah.
No, yeah. There's a lot that are just they're easy. Now, if you look at the back cover, now the back cover is number one. It was filthy, lots of creases to it. It was there was a tear at the top. I mean, well, actually, that's a flap right there that you're actually looking at. Rounded
See the
corners.
flap.
Yeah, it
Looks
was.
like a tear at the bottom as well with a crunch.
Yes, that's exactly right. And that crunch was through the entire book.
So I got some images of that if you want me to jump
and so
forward.
there you go. That's perfect. So looking at this, you can see how it's detached. You can see the crunch running through the entire set of wraps. Now the block of wraps obviously was fully detached from the cover. It was, you know how I separate all the wraps and press them flat and clean them and do everything, which is what we did in this book.
I have the list later, Larry. You can walk through it.
Okay, perfect. All
I
right,
have
we'll go
like 2
through
more
that.
images of just the state of it. So if you give us sort of the assessment, then we'll move into what you did.
Yeah. This looking at this, you really can't tell the spine split. The way the again, this is not my picture. This is the seller's picture. He pushed the pieces together, and but it was split all the way down to the bottom staple. So,
can I just say the story and the art here though are captivating?
I actually read it while I was cleaning it.
Not all these Golden Age books are a good read, and not all the art is great, but some of it is amazing. And I just love this.
I also have to say it always strikes me as crazy when you see a book like this and all those creases on the back cover, the tear, all the wear. A book like this with the slit, but somehow the front cover managed to remain looking as nice.
Exactly. That was another.
How does that happen? But
that was another reason for me buying it, because I looked at the cover. It really presented well. There was no real rubs in the colors or anything like that. It presented so well.
And this page quality obviously can be brightened up, but it's really pretty nice and warm. Yeah,
it's got clean pages. Exactly.
Good starting place. Here's the view of the interior of the back cover.
That guy's
that's a cool ad, isn't it?
Oh, sorry.
We can see that crunch that goes through several crunches that go through the entire book that you mentioned here, Larry.
Yep, and you can see the top of the cover and the bottom of the cover, and then the bottom of the entire book. It was crunched.
And this upper right corner on the back cover, upper right as we were looking at it from the interior here, that piece is gone.
That's
the only part of the book that's incomplete other than tiny little chip outs.
Yeah, and they notated that in the grader's notes.
A couple more images of the interior and the art.
Nice.
Well, look at the colors.
Look at the colors, indeed.
Colors just pop.
Even on this yellow paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really look great.
Yeah, it just came out wonderful.
Oh, this is the before.
Yeah, that's a before. These are all befores. And even after cleaning, I mean, the pages lightened, the colors stayed solid. I mean, the colors just were amazing when the thing was all done.
Yeah.
I in my experience, I think sometimes people are very harsh with page quality, and it really you can look at the edges, but look at the text and the. Often look at these look off white to white. Nice.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, speaking of being harsh on the grading and the paper quality, I think this is I think 2.0 is still a fair grade on this book.
Yeah,
I know Larry
I
says
do too.
no.
I'm pretty harsh on it.
Yeah.
The cover being fully detached, that's generally pretty much with all the crunching on it. I don't go more than about a 1.8.
Yeah.
When it's with fully detached and crunched, and
I would have to have the cover split for me to get to 1.8 on this book. Personally, I think it's. I
would
not argue with
it was split. 3/4 of the way.
not all the way though.
Yeah, not yet.
But we're in the same ballpark. We're in the area where we're not going to argue about it. I think it's just interesting to discuss.
Yeah.
I certainly would never be pushing back on a seller calling this a 2.0, especially because they did.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, they did say this is how I grade it, but here's all the images. Full disclosure, right?
I knew what I was getting into when I got it and saw, everything. I didn't contact him. I didn't complain. I
Yeah.
just did my thing.
I mean, there's a time for that, but
Yeah,
I don't.
there really
This
is.
book isn't it.
Yeah.
So I just put your notes to me
Mhm.
here on the left, and just walk us through your process on this book,
Yeah.
Gary.
So you got the assessments, and then we went through the disassembly, and you separate everything out. I did wet cleaning on the cover and all the wraps, and I've just given up on anything other than doing three washes.
Yeah.
First one is a standard wash with the soap with the Triton, and 1% HP. The next two rinses are just the calcium hydroxide. Now,
Yep.
timing. I have discovered that 5 minutes works really good.
Mhm.
Anything longer than that, now we're talking about removing sizing and everything else. In these old books, I mean, that sizing comes right out.
Yeah.
You can tell once you get it wet how quickly the pages in the cover absorb the water. That's a dead giveaway for missing sizing.
Yep.
And if they're slow to uptake, okay, they're still sizing.
I
But
found even like
yeah.
you could even go like 5-3-2 on your washes here.
Yeah.
I typically
really
say
the last
5-5-5 just because it's easy to describe that to people. And
Yeah.
also when I'm shooting video, I'm managing a whole bunch of stuff. My next solution, I'm pouring off the old solution and taking pictures of it and doing all this stuff. If I were not shooting all the video and doing all the other things, I probably would do like 5-3-2.
Well,
And because those second two are just rinses,
just
and each
rinses.
one of them is doing
You're
more
just-
than the last.
You're
So
just getting the soap out, basically.
Yeah.
Now, I do 4 wraps at a time. So by
Right.
the time I get to the 4th wrap, the first wrap is ready for its next rinse. So it's a
Mhm.
cycle.
Yeah.
And so I'll do 2 groups of 4. That's usually all the wraps. There's usually 8 wraps, maybe 9 wraps, depending on the book. Then from there, I'll pressure dry them flat, and then into the blue light chamber they go. Do the treatment, come out, then do any repairs, because they're basically perfectly flat at that point. So all those wrinkles, all those crunches, they are now gone. Because the minute you get that wrap wet, as long as it's not a tear or anything, they're going to disappear.
Yep.
And so they're pressed flat. I do any repairs that we need to. Then in this particular case, we kind of gave it away here, but the cover from the wet cleaning became 2 pieces. So that
Mhm.
3/4 inch split became a
Yeah.
100% split.
And
So
that happens sometimes
I had
when
2
you're
held. Yeah,
yeah.
it was just so weak.
It's
The
very
rest of the
weak. It's
paper.
basically a hinge held on by a couple of fibers,
Yeah, and
and
I knew I was gonna have to, fix the spine anyway. So, okay, let's just go
there's
ahead
no
and
real
just
penalty if you're already conserving the book.
there's no penalty there. So rejoin the 2 halves, Japanese paper, wheat paste, because I only use wheat paste for the covers, anything structural. Back in the humidity chamber, press everything flat, so now it's ready, and we basically, I did the staple hole repairs on the inner wrap on the back side just to reinforce the staple, so we have a nice tight book.
Yep.
Then let's see. I'm looking at my notes here. Okay, then I had to re-roll a spine on it. So
Mhm.
back in the humidity chamber, and then re-roll the spine, checked everything then gave it a final press, and then I submitted it with notes.
Yep.
And I have found in my recent submissions, CGC is reading the notes, and they are. I asked them to look at it through the eyes of a conservation, not a restoration, and they do seem to be doing that. So everything's been coming back lately conserved.
I've been seeing more submissions from folks with cover cleaned and staples cleaned coming back conserved that I think a year ago would have been restored.
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
they're expanding this to mean, which is how they've defined it in their,
Mhm.
in their rules. But before there was no, it was inexplicable when, like, if you did cover cleaned, it was again them just sort of deducing that you did it and then I guess deciding whether or not they thought it was amateurish or not is supposed to be the rule of thumb. Whether or not people are getting better at this or whether or not they're getting more open-minded to conservation, I don't know. But I definitely feel like I've seen multiple people with recent submissions come back conserved that don't have a history of conservation and, are not sending in notes. And I think a year ago would have been restored books.
Yeah,
which is good, I think.
The main criteria for conserved, it must be A1 grade, professional level. So I think it's more of CGC getting a little bit more receptive to
I hope so.
To conservation.
Broadening the scope of books to really to match their own definitions, frankly.
Oh, we have a question here.
We've got a couple. I thought let's wrap up
your
grade here because we're right at the reveal, and then we can go full screen on some of these.
All right. So here's how it came back. It's 5.0, off-white to white pages. The pages were lightened a bit. The colors stayed wonderful. It's flat. All the crunches are gone. So, going through the conservation, it says tear sealed the cover, obviously because it was in 2 pieces. Spine split sealed, interior reinforced. It came out great. I was really happy with it.
Absolutely.
It has that one chip out of the back. There was.
I think you maximized the grade here.
Absolutely maximized the grade. There was light creasing to the cover. Now, those are color breaking creases, obviously that you just can't take out. Spline split was sealed in a conserved manner. Tear seals top and bottom of back cover. We knew about those, and very light tears to the cover. I don't recall doing any tear seals to the interior pages. The only thing is I reinforced that one staple or both staples from that center wrap. And
that's what they do say. They say interior reinforced, so it's probably the staple.
Yeah, there you go.
You did an incredible job.
Yeah,
thank you, Phil.
Completely maximize value here.
I got to be devil's advocate. Just
go ahead.
Notes here. I would have to say if I had to choose, they did or they didn't. I don't think that the list of notes that you sent in made their decision at all. I think they would have graded.
You don't think so?
Without the notes. I say that because they don't have a cover cleaned or interior clean notation, which you literally told them that you did.
I did.
And you did such a good job. And because the duration of the bath was so short, you didn't try to get anything past, but it was unidentifiable and it wasn't noted. And I just to make a point too, of anyone watching this, I have people reach out saying specifically, can this be done on books? And this is a great example of it can happen, but it's not at anyone's discretion other than the grader. So there's no way you can say to someone, I can do this and it will 100% come back this way. It just, this is the nuance of grading.
Anybody that says that is either misguided, inexperienced, or just lying. In as far as I'm concerned.
You did a great job here. You really did.
Oh, thank you, Phil.
And I wanted to talk about fair market value.
Yeah.
And I wanted to come back to that point you made, Phil, about some of these books are just out there raw but haven't been subbed.
Yeah.
A 6.0 sold for over $1,000. I mean, this is almost
awesome.
I mean, that's good money.
Yeah.
That's close to $200 a point. In the range that you bought it in, I didn't see a sale down at 2. But I think
sales are so infrequent.
In the middle grades here, it's obvious that it's selling for more than $100 a point, right?
Yeah.
So the last sale there in the 6.0 is almost $200 a point. So I would put this at about $150 a point in Universal. In Universal. So I would put your 5.0 at about $750 Universal. And then if we just apply a 2/3 or 3/4, which I think is very conservative, I think you could probably go higher than that.
Well,
you're looking at a book, around $600, $650 for something that you paid under $200 for, and then you had some submission fees.
Yeah.
So just ballpark, I think you created $200 to $300 of equity. You preserved a book. You had fun. You practiced the hobby. You did right by the book. and you didn't hurt your pocketbook either.
No, I think I came out on top with this one.
Yeah, and I think that's if you were trying to sell it in an auction with a low starting bid. I think you can hold this. This is going to be a book, as you said, that's going to appreciate over time. I think if you wanted to put it out there for $1,000 and let it sit on eBay for a while, I wouldn't be shocked if somebody snapped this up.
I like keeping my books.
No, I know you do. I don't like selling either.
Yeah, this is it right here.
I sometimes get asked, like, do you sell comic books? And I just stare at people for long enough for them to get uncomfortable. And then I go, I don't understand the question.
Now, truthfully, if I were to go sell this, I'm not so sure I would sell it on eBay. Now, I do have an eBay account. And
Yeah.
I'm one of the top tier sellers, but the costs associated with it are not worth it. I think I would probably ship it to Heritage.
I think 100% on this book, the right sort of market for it.
That's the right market. And, Heritage
would be a great market for it.
Yeah, they have a $10,000 minimum, and I'd have to group them up and send everything out. But I don't want to sell it though.
Don't sell it.
No, I like my books.
It's beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Right.
We had
let's jump into a few. I wanted to say
get the one Adrift right there.
I want to say really quickly hi to Alex from Nelco Comics. He's down in San Antonio, and he's just getting started. He's been cleaning for a while, just getting started with pressing, and he's gonna be filling us in on his progress as he goes. I spoke to him earlier today, so I wanted to shout out for Alex. I don't know whose brother this is. Whose brother is this?
Not my brother. My brother doesn't golf.
We're all brothers. And then we have this question I think we wanted to get to.
What is sizing exactly?
So when you take this is how I like to explain it to people. If you take a felt tip marker and you have a paper towel and you write on the paper towel with a Sharpie or a felt tip marker, what happens is the ink gets in there and then spreads and it blurs, and it's very difficult to see what you wrote. And this was understood 2,000 years ago when the Chinese were figuring out paper, and then when that technology eventually made it to the Western world. It was understood that you can make paper, but you can't write on it with ink without this phenomenon happening. So they came up with a solution to that, and the solution is sizing. And what sizing is, back in the day, they actually literally took cow hooves and chunks of small straps of leather that couldn't be used for anything else, and they just boiled it. There's a lot of collagen, but other animal proteins. And then they mixed a certain amount of that animal protein in with the paper pulp, and they made the paper with it. And what it does, think of it sort of like a small amount of glue, like Elmer's type glue, which also is like, cow hooves and such, collagen, a lot of it, animal proteins. And what that did was it did several things for the paper. It made the paper stiffer. It gave it better handleability. It made it more durable. And it gave it a certain amount of water impermeance, meaning not that it can't get wet, but if you ever notice, if you hit a drop of water on normal paper, you wipe it off quickly, it's just gone. Like the cover of a comic book, you can put a drop of water on there, wipe it off, it's gone. No evidence whatsoever. When you put a drop of water on paper towel, instant absorption, you can't wipe it off. Yeah. Now there's evidence, the paper towel will dry, wrinkly, or whatever, right? So they figured out that in order to apply ink to paper and not have it bleed, that they did this, and it had several other effects, again, making the paper stronger, making it impervious to water, and a bunch of other things in terms of preservation. This is why actually 400-year-old paper is still around, because it was made with pure cellulose and it was sized, and books from, say, 1600s actually survived better than books from the 1850s because they were using cheaper and cheaper paper. So that's what sizing is from a scientific background. I'm interested to hear your guys' comments on.
Yeah, that's a great description.
In relation to this, the
Please.
point that we're talking about washing it out is that layer. Larry was talking about how he does 3 5-minute washes. That duration is short enough where the sizing isn't affected on the paper. It's not eliminated or reduced. But if you start having longer washes and the paper's submerged longer, then you risk having the sizing be removed, and then you start risking having the colors be compromised and the integrity of the paper be compromised, and it's just it creates more issues.
So, a sized cover. I'll just use this one right here. This is sized. It doesn't fold over. Now, if I took a paper towel, it would roll over right away.
Do that test with the sound too.
Oh,
in front of the mic. Yes.
So we call that
back in the day
a snap.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that quality is called card. And back in the day, like in the 1600s, before they really had chemistry, when they were making paper, there was actually a person who decided by the sound of the paper whether or not it was sized properly.
And actually, CGC listens. They listen to a lot of that stuff too. They can feel it. Now you get a page that is limp like a paper towel. If it's limp like a paper towel, it's lost all its sizing, and CGC is going to look at that and go, "Oh, this has been cleaned. It's been over cleaned." Actually, and I think when we see the difference, we get a cover cleaned on a conserved book and a cover cleaned in a restored grade. I do think there's some differences. Somebody may have over cleaned the cover and removed the sizing, and you have a limp piece of paper. You have a piece of paper towel as a cover.
Yep. And it's almost similar to like clothing when it gets threadbare. You can feel that difference. And it's clearly like, if as a collector, you're looking at two books, one is sort of threadbare like that, and the other one is like what you expect. Obviously, one of those is a better book, right? So it is incumbent on CGC to point that out and to note it in the grades. So there we go. The Drift says thank you. So I guess we gave him a complete answer.
I see James.
Probably more than he needed to know.
James, I am getting better with my audio. I'm now using my Shure microphone when I'm actually at my workstation right now. So my newer videos, the sound is better.
You sound great right now.
Yeah.
And James is actually Dylan. I know Dylan. Okay. I just didn't recognize the YouTube handle here.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mike said, "Hey, everybody hit that thumbs up button." I appreciate you pointing that out, Mike. Yeah, it's great. It really helps new viewers. It helps the algorithm push our content to and sort of grow our community, and that's what we're here to do.
If you think we stink, then give us a thumbs down. But hopefully, you don't think we stink.
Does that work?
Actually, I think there's no such thing as bad attention on YouTube.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of evidence of that. So one of the things, speaking of the sizing, when you do remove it, it can be put back in place. And that's something Larry's got I think, coming up on the channel soon, right? It's something we've been discussing for a while.
Yeah, I've been refining, adding sizing back into paper after it's been cleaned. I haven't made any videos on it yet. I've finally got it down, I think. And it's coming out well. This page I held up for you. It's Challenges Unknown, and it was cleaned on the cover here. You see, nice and clean, and it was limp, but no, it's no longer, and it does have snaps, so it's been resized. So we'll talk about that more in the future once I feel comfortable that I've got it down right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, that's our show, folks. You guys have anything else to add?
I'm trying to think of anything to preview for next week. Maybe during the week I'll come up with something.
I'll wait.
Yeah. No, Phil, you're already on the hook.
So I have them on my desk here. This is a fun thing. So
all right, hold it up.
I had someone send me a DM on my work account a couple weeks ago, and they were like, "Hey, I was referred to you by someone on Reddit, and I was helping an elderly neighbor move out of his house, and in the attic we found a bunch of baseball cards and a stack of comic books." And he said he was looking through the group, looking for number ones because he didn't know much about books, and came across some superhero books. One of them, which I'll show in a second, and looked it up online and said, "Oh wow, I think I've got something here." And posted a picture. One of the responses I saw on the Reddit thread was, "This guy's trolling. This isn't real." So someone sent him a message and said, "You should have a professional press the book and get it graded because you have what
He's
looks
not
like
wrong."
So he reached out. We started to talk. I chatted with him on the phone. He came, and his sister lives in Manhattan, so he came and stayed at her place and came over here and dropped off.
Oh, perfect.
Books. So I'll start low, and then I'll end on it. And then this book is a book that I think next week we might have a segment on the valuations.
Cool. All right.
That'd be great.
The first one was, this is a cool Ibis the Invincible issue 6, a nicer, not perfect, but a nicer, higher grade copy, which is kind of cool.
I'm not familiar with that one.
This is
Fawcett Golden Age.
Okay.
It's a Fawcett Golden Age, right?
This group too. So just for reference, there's about 40 books. About 25 are classics illustrated.
Okay.
And then there's a slew of other ones, including, and this is so cool. Like some of them are trash. This book stayed in an attic with this roll, and this book happens to be a very cool Human Torch 31.
Whoa.
So in the picture, in the 3 pictures of groups, you said anything else here, and immediately I was like, that's one you should bring that one with.
What year is that Human Torch?
The big reveal. So this Human Torch is from 1948.
Wow.
Look at the colors on this. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's a cool actual. Look at that.
You got Toro and basically. Yeah.
Right, so this is the reveal, right?
Oh, there's more.
So this was the book. This was the big one.
Oh shit! Oh, excuse me, I can't say that.
So the craziest thing, and it's a book. I've worked on copies, but not one this nice. It's got some
looks
but
beautiful.
Wow.
A very nice, at least mid-grade copy of Detective Comics 168. Sorry.
And for everybody at home, these books with black covers, they are so hard to find in high grade because they show a split, a hairline crack so easily.
Isn't that crazy? This is the origin of the Joker too. So this is also just for frame of reference.
Huge key.
Copies of this book.
That is a huge key.
Yeah.
Declared value on this was $15,000 just for anyone.
Yeah.
For
sure.
I'm sure that was a great attic find.
Now,
Phil, are you going to clean? You're cleaning these.
It has a spine roll.
Okay.
And it needs cleaning and pressing. So I'm the fortunate person to get to see a copy that's been sitting in an attic since it was purchased. Basically.
Oh, that's we all dream about finding stuff like that.
And such a nice guy, such a nice someone who's not involved in comics at all too. So
document your progress on that because I think everybody would love to see how it turns out.
Absolutely, we want to see that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, very cool book.
Well, I guess now we have something to look forward to for next week, everybody.
Absolutely. Yay.
Well, have a great week.
Copy of this, but it was a much lower grade. So I was astounded. I expected to see restoration, a coupon cut, but complete copy. So
that's awesome.
Crazy.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to my co-hosts.
Yep. We'll see you all next week.
All of you there live. Thanks everybody who watches the show during the week. And join us next week for the exciting conclusion. Probably won't be a full conclusion, but for the next episode of the Comic Book Conservation Show. Thanks, everybody.
All right,
Take care. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.